Hey, I'm Sauvik. This will be the most half-baked thing you've heard all day because I literally started this 2 months ago. So I'm going to be talking about modeling barriers to self-custody for cryptocurrency novices. But before I get into the weeds of all of that, I wanted to start with a little anecdote, which is during the last bull cycle, my brother, in his infinite wisdom, was like, hey, DeFi is a thing. I want to be involved in that. And so he downloaded MetaMask and he got confronted with the seed phrase page, which essentially says something to the effect of never share your seed phrase or you will lose everything forever. And so can anybody guess what he did?
Shared it with you.
Tweeted it, shared it with me. You got it, Michael. He immediately shares a seed phrase with me. He's like, hey, I saw this thing which says I should never share my seed phrase. So I was like, I'm going to share it with you because, hey, you know security stuff, so I'm just going to let you deal with it. But what happens if you don't know anybody who knows security stuff? I mean, the general point here is that self-custody is this super scary thing for cryptocurrency novices. I mean, if you come from a traditional finance world where you're essentially responsible for nothing, all of a sudden now you're being told, hey, you have full personal responsibility for this thing. If you make a small mistake, your funds are irrevocably gone and you can't do anything about it. Nothing is insured. And by the way, this Wild West that you're entering into, everybody's a scammer and you better watch out for all of it, right? And it's sort of unsurprising that for a lot of novices, they're like, what the heck? I don't want to do any of this. And yet, the alternative can be just as scary, right? As adequately captured by Isaiah Jackson, who's a Web3 influencer, let's just say. He captured this with the phrasing, not your keys, not your cheese, not your keys, not your coin, right? And I don't really need to go through all of these things to tell you how that can sometimes be true as well. We saw the collapse of a lot of large institutions that promised to custody assets in a way that's safe and secure and lulled a lot of people into that false sense of security as well. So from an HCI perspective, which is what I do, I wanted to understand this idea of what are these barriers that prevent people from self-custodying? If as a community we say self-custody is important, how can we sort of understand what are the barriers to it, and how can we if we want to encourage more of it, how can we make it less scary, more usable, more secure? And so my team and I were approaching this problem with a human-centered design process, which essentially consists of this idea of hey, if you want to build things for people, maybe talk to them first, figure out what the pain points are. And so we're starting with that. So we're starting in this learn phase, and hopefully eventually we're going to get down to this prototyping phase. And the most salient touch point for a lot of users when they first sort of encounter this idea of decentralized finance and Web3 is the seed phrase. Now I know there are smart contract wallets that get rid of this, but a lot of people don't use those yet. So what we're doing right now is we're running some interview studies with novices to self-custody. We're trying to learn things like, what do people even know about seed phrases? Like, what's their mental model of what these things are? How do they secure their seed phrases, and where do they learn about these things? What are the pain points for account recovery? I'm going to share with you some preliminary results we found from a few of our initial interviews. So some initial insights that we found. So folks who do decide to take this plunge to self-custody their assets, they're often doing this because they want to participate in the broader ecosystem of DeFi. They're not just like the buy and hold types who just go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin and just want to see the price go up. Which begs the question, how many folks who just are sort of in it to buy and hold these blue chip crypto assets, how many of them will ever even have the motivation to self-custody? That's a real sort of question to ask if we're trying to encourage more self-custody. In terms of security strategies, we found that from our initial few set of participants, essentially what they like to do is they like to make paper copies and they like to share them and back them up with family and friends that they trust. So one participant, for example, shared her seed phrase with her husband because he's the keeper of the passwords in the household. Another stores paper backups of his seed phrases in his parents' house and has this intricate system where it's one part of the seed phrase is in this room, another part of the seed phrase is in the other room, and he has to combine them all like Captain Planet in order to get them all back together. But interestingly, even though a lot of people sort of want to delegate this responsibility of securing their seed phrases to others who they trust, when asked if they would consider being stewards for others, they all express a lot of apprehension, right? They're like, it's a lot of responsibility. It's really stressful for me to take care of somebody else or be somebody else's secure backup. So people want to offload this burden, but they feel really apprehensive of sharing other people's burdens as well. So where do people source advice? Primarily online, like social media is what we found. So Discord communities, Reddit communities, and also adapting what they know from the Web 2 world. But social media communities also happen to be where many of the threats that participants are most concerned about originate. So I'm getting the time's up thing, so I'm just going to say we're still in the learn phase, and next we're planning to recruit a broader set of folks, and later we're hoping to actually prototype a more usable wallet. Anyway, this was collaborative work. Thank you.